Welcome back to Soccer Ballers. I realised that I didn't introduce myself last time. My name's Will. WF. No one ever calls me that though. But this podcast, this vlog, whichever you prefer to call it, is going to be about the Premier League team of the decade. In yesterday's one, I touched upon how a lot of people are doing these at the moment. You see them on the BBC website and over Twitter. People are chipping in with who they think have been the best 11 in the Premier League over the last 10 years. I did a team of the season so far, but decided, I'll do my own Premier League team in the decade as well. We've all got our own opinions. I'm sure that you'll not all agree with me. But hey, that's what football's for, and it's good to have a difference of opinions, good to have that positive communication and just sharing thoughts and ideas. So looking at the BBC's team of the decade, they've gone for a 4-3-3. I've gone for the same formation. They've gone for David De Gea in goal of Man United. They've gone for Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, both of Liverpool. Of course, Van Dijk also played for Southampton for a period of the last decade. Vincent Kompany, Man City, and Patrice Evra of Man United. Their centre midfielders were Steven Gerrard, N'Golo Kante, and Kevin De Bruyne. Gerrard, of course, only of Liverpool. De Bruyne, Chelsea and Man City. Kante, Leicester and Chelsea. And then their strikers, Harry Kane of Tottenham, Sergio Aguero of Man City, and Eden Hazard of Chelsea. So, great team, very strong team there. Don't completely agree with it all. I can understand why they put some of them in, but I'm looking at players who have been successful, and all of these have helped their team to win at least one trophy within the last 10 years. Which, okay, so the BBC done, but every single player here is a Premier League winner. So in goal, I've gone for Ederson. For me personally, Ederson, when he joined Manchester City, I thought, who on earth's he? I've got no idea who this geezer is, but apparently he can play a football with his feet and he can play a pass quite far and he's good between the sticks. My days, how good is Ederson? He was a great signing for Manchester City when Guardiola came in and easily established himself as the best goalkeeper in the Premier League. Yes, he's got some rivals now. You look at Alisson, another fantastic signing from Roma for Liverpool. Kasper Schmeichel, underrated for many years, great goalkeeper. But you have Ederson, and he's come in for 35 million, joining from Benfica, and he has been consistent ever since signing back in 2017. His shot stopping's amazing, his distribution is also amazing. I just imagine that if you're one of those Manchester City defenders in front of him, you trust him to go about his job and and get on with it. You don't feel like you're going to lose. You don't feel like you're going to lose with him in between the sticks. Ederson as well was the first ever Manchester City goalkeeper to provide a Premier League assist. I've got this from Wikipedia, you probably heard me clicking away. He had a goal kick that was converted by Aguero in the opening game in a 6-1 win over Huddersfield Town in August 2018. So I go to my back four and I start off with Kyle Walker. Kyle Walker, initially at Spurs, was awesome at Spurs. He also had a loan spell at Aston Villa for a little while, in which he became a key player. We really wanted to try and sign him, or the fans did anyway. But he ended up at Tottenham, and he ended up there with Kyle Norton as well. But Kyle Walker has just gone from strength to strength. 50 million when he joined Manchester City. And he went to show that he at that time was the best right back in the Premier League. He's been at Man City since 2017, after starting out at Tottenham from 2009 to 2017, obviously when he moved, with a few loan spells in between, coming to us on loan from Tottenham. And as I say, we at the Villa wish that we'd signed him. He's one of those right backs who you like to see in the modern era. He's able to bomb forward, get those crosses in, scores a goal every now and again. He's not prolific at all. In fact, actually, every now and again he's fair, because he's only scored 7 goals ever. 4 of those for Tottenham, 2 for Man City, and 1 for Aston Villa. That was against Sheffield United. But he's one of those people who you feel can bomb forward and can set up chances. Played at centre-back as well for England in a back 5 over the World Cup, and he did a great job there. You could see him moving inside in the future. Maybe that's something that Man City will look at. Now they've got Cancelo, who can play at full-back as well. But for me, Kyle Walker gets in at right-back, and inside him at centre-back, the best Belgian centre-half of all time, Vincent Kompany. Not doing the best at Anderlecht at the moment, but 265 appearances for Manchester City over an 11-year period. Scored 18 goals. His most memorable one will be that rocket against Leicester City when Manchester City won the league. He was phenomenal. He was the sort of person who just looked like a leader. He started off his career playing in midfield, defensive mid, dropped back into the centre-back at Man City. And I think it's fair to say that they miss a player like him around their club at the moment. Man City are struggling at centre-back, having to deploy Rodri and Fernandinho at times. But this guy's been brilliant for Manchester City. I think he's won pretty much everything. He's won the FA Cup. He's won the league, obviously. Sure, the Carabao Cup as well within that time. You know, if you were going to pick any player, any centre-back as the best centre-back of the last 10 years in the Premier League, you'd be looking at him. Van Dijk has been brilliant brilliant last season for Liverpool. Has done well for them ever since he's joined, but that's not over the same period as Kompany. You've got Vidic and Ferdinand, 2 of the most feared centre-backs of their time in their prime at Manchester United. Whenever you played United and you saw those 2 in defence, you thought, yeah, okay, how are we going to get past these? Are we going to score? The other centre-back, though, for me, to go alongside Kompany, John Terry. John Terry was a stalwart and a main corner piece of what Chelsea had been, and the dominance that they had over in the Premier League when they won the league on so many occasions. Him, Lampard, Hazard, Drogba, Cech, those are the main players. Those are the players that you think of when you talk about Chelsea in the Premier League. A man who has captained his country. Also gone on to show that despite not having the most speed in the world, he had an awareness about him. He knew where the ball was going. He could captain a team. He could get them rallied. He knew what to say to them. He knew where the ball was going to be, as I say all the time. He'd mark a player out of the game. He'd score goals as well as a centre-back. I'll have a look to see exactly how many he did score for Chelsea. But he's one of the best centre-backs ever of the Premier League era. 1998 to 2017, 492 appearances and 41 goals. That's not bad for a defender, really. Not bad at all. Captain of Chelsea as well. I'd make him the captain of this team, if I'm completely honest with you. Other shout-outs, as I said before, to Vidic and Ferdinand. We've got Alderweireld, who's a great defender, and Vertonghen, but unfortunately, they haven't really gone on to win anything with Tottenham, which has probably let them down, and that's why I haven't picked them here. Then you have Patrice Evra. He only played 4 years of the last decade at Manchester United, and he's my left back. Yes, he had 5 games for West Ham, but we won't hold that against him. No problem with West Ham, but he didn't set the world alight, did he? Man United really was the pinnacle of his career after playing for Monaco and being brilliant there. 273 appearances, 7 goals. He won countless trophies with them. He played in big matches. He was that left back who you couldn't get past. He was quick. He was in the PFA team of the year twice, because there was nobody really that rivaled him apart from Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole was a great defender for Chelsea, you know. But Patrice Evra just had something about him. He went on to captain Manchester United just before the decade started as well. He was one of 3 Man United players to be in the FIFA Pro World 11, but that was 2009. You know, a year too early. Won the League Cup title. Won 4 of those altogether for Man U. And he was one of those players who you saw him in defence with Vidic and Ferdinand. Man United were a real force then, you know, getting into Champions League finals, winning the Champions League, winning cups. He was a proper left back, and I agree with the BBC there. You put him in. My midfield, they picked Kevin De Bruyne. I picked Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne, as I mentioned yesterday, is the best central midfielder in the world at the moment, bar none. Who is there that rivals him at present? Luka Modric? No, he's gone off the boil. Frankie de Jong? Maybe one day. Busquets? Not the same type of player, and De Bruyne is much better than him. But here you go, 5 years in the Premier League, 130 appearances during that time. He's played for Belgium as well for the last decade, making 74 appearances for them. 32 goals for Man City in 130 games. Not bad for a midfielder, really. What's that? A goal every 4 games? And you see the types of goal he scores. He scores for fun. He gets into the box. He scores from outside the box. Free kicks. Ridiculous angles as well. Out wide. He can take penalties. He can score those as well. He's the heartbeat, I would say, of that Manchester City team. And he'd be the heartbeat of any team. You could slot him in anywhere. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus. He wouldn't be out of place. He would be able to make any team tick. Absolutely quality. You look and you see that he's won the Premier League a couple of times for Manchester City, but yeah, he's probably one of the best ever midfielders to grace the Premier League, because he's got it all. He can play that holding role, he can play that attacking role, he can go box to box if you want him to. No matter where you put him, he will be a key man. It's a shame that he's suffered with injuries as much as he has done, especially over the last season or 2. But my days, what a player. So alongside him, I've gone again along with the BBC and picked N'Golo Kante. N'Golo Kante, when Leicester signed him, I think most people would have gone, who? Kante? Never heard of him, mate. Never heard of him. Didn't expect him to play. Who's he joined? He's joined Leicester. He's one of those players. He won't ever be much good. My days. N'Golo Kante, best holding midfielder in the world. Is he a holding midfielder though? He's got so much energy. He doesn't stop running. I would imagine that he's a dream to have alongside you in midfield. I mean, when he played for Leicester, they used to say that they played three in midfield, Danny Drinkwater in the middle, and then N'Golo Kante either side of him. Obviously, it was just the two of them. But it showed that his heart, his desire, him as a person, went on in that one season for Leicester City and helped them win the Premier League. He was a 5.6 million buy, and he played 37 times for them. He's not a goal scorer, no, but he did enough at Leicester to get their Player of the Year award. And then, of course, he went on to join Chelsea for 32 million. That's pretty much 6 times what he joined Leicester for. He was the first outfield player to win back-to-back English league titles with different clubs since Cantona in 92 and 93. He went to Chelsea and he's just carried on. He's kicked on, wearing that number 7 shirt, playing for France for the last 4 years as well. How could you not put him into your team? One of the best midfielders to ever grace the Premier League. Up there with the likes of Makelele at Chelsea as a holding player, Yabi Alonso's, but the speed that he's got as well just adds something different. 9 goals for Chelsea as well in 115 games. He's actually scored more goals for Chelsea than he had at Bologna, Caen and Leicester City put together. You can add France to that as well, and then it's equal. But what a player, and he seems humble about it all as well. You can't help but not smile when you see him play. Alongside, so they went for Stevie G. I've gone for David Silva. It may be his last year at Manchester City, but David Silva has lit up the Premier League since joining Man City from Valencia all those years ago, back at the start of the decade. You know, he was a key player for Valencia, along with David Villa, who obviously also left and went to FC Barcelona. But he's Mr. Man City, even in the time of adversity, when his newborn son wasn't very well. He carried on being Mr. Professional. He wore the captain's armband. He took games to teams. He's got 57 goals in 297 appearances. Played for Spain 125 times with only 3 players. Not 3 players. There's only 3 players who have scored more goals than him for Spain. He's got 35 there. You look at him and you think about his style of play. A talented and agile left-footed player, as Wikipedia says, though anyone could have written that, couldn't they? His first touch, his dribbling, technical ability, his movement, he's able to get into the box, he scores from tight angles, he gets through tight angles, he opens up defences. He's just a magician. He's a magician. He's up there with De Bruyne, at Manchester City. You got both of them in sentiment. You've got a holding midfielder. I'm sure that holding midfielder just says to De Bruyne and Silva, go on then, I've got this, you go and damage them. And he will do. He's a proper playmaker. Absolutely brilliant. And a steal. Doesn't matter how much he cost. He's a steal for Manchester City. What a great player. So then we move on to the front three. They've gone for Hazard, Aguero and Kane. I've got one the same. Sergio Aguero, best Manchester City striker of the Premier League era. Yes, you might say Sean Gota for the goals that he scored against Manchester United, especially those two in the main road victory. But Aguero, people will remember the winner against QPR because of how absurd it was that Manchester City managed to score 2 late goals and stop United from winning the league when they won it for the first time ever. That Balotelli little through ball, the little fake from Aguero and finish. But you go back to his first game for them against Newcastle and remember how he ripped them apart on Monday Night Football, and he was sensational. He was great at Atletico Madrid. He's come over here. I'm sure his home record for Manchester City is a lot better than his away goal scoring record. In fact, he hasn't scored many away from home in the last year or so, from what I can remember. But their number 10 is definitely a superstar. 251 games. He's got 173 goals since 2011. He scored 41 in 97 games for Argentina. He probably doesn't get the due, the credit that he deserves for Argentina because they've got the likes of Messi up front amongst others. But he's an assassin in front of goal. He's absolutely phenomenal. And as I say, getting that goal to win the league, I'm sure any Manchester City fan would put him as one of their front three. Now, alongside him, also from Man City, I could have gone for Eden Hazard of Chelsea, but I didn't. He ain't, he's been their key player. I think he probably had about one bad season or one poorer season for Chelsea when he was there before moving on to Real Madrid. But for me, Raheem Sterling pips it. Sterling was good at Liverpool. He showed that he had what it took before getting his move to Manchester City, where he's blossomed. Under Pep Guardiola, he has become one of the best players in the world. You might not agree, but he is. You look at the goals he scores the last couple of years, you look at the development of his game, the assists, the running, how he just knows where to be on that pitch, how to bamboozle players even without the ball. He's doing it for England as well. I think he's England's danger man. Though I appreciate we're not talking about England here, but he's got to be one of Manchester City's as well. With De Bruyne pulling the strings, looking for his runs, he's going to bag double figures every single season. He's won titles with Man City, obviously, but it's just his strength of character to keep going, to keep bettering himself, to go on and become one of the best players in the world. And when you've got Messi and Ronaldo who finally hang up their boots, who's going to be in contentions for Ballon d'Ors then? I wouldn't be surprised to see Sterling's name in the top 10. Now, they finish off with Harry Kane, good old Harry at Tottenham, and he's a great choice. I remember first watching him play and thinking he wasn't much good. He probably wouldn't make it, and then he started scoring his goals, and you liken him to an Alan Shearer, score from outside the box, inside the box, penalties, free kicks, headers. But he hasn't done it enough for me. He hasn't led Tottenham to that glory that this other striker has. Jamie Vardy. Jamie Vardy's having a bit of a renaissance this season, but that title winning year, Jamie Vardy and N'Golo Kante, they dragged Leicester to that championship, along with the other players, but it was those two who really made a difference from the outside looking in. Jamie Vardy, with those 11 goals in consecutive games, breaking the record, potentially going to do it again this season, going on from there to get recognition to play for his country and scoring goals for England. You know, he's no spring chicken. He's 32. You'd be expecting him to slow down by now. But in his 8 years at Leicester, bagging 116 and 256 after starting off at Stockbridge Park Steels, going to Halifax Town and then Fleetwood, he was a steal. He was a find, wasn't he, by the Leicester manager at the time. I mean, he was 1 million, a non-league record at that time. Made his debut in the League Cup against Torquay, and scored the last goal in a 4-0 win. He's one of those cheeky ones, isn't he? You know, fans of the opposition love to hate him, but if you had him up front penetrating defences with his speed, scoring goals, you'd be all over him, singing his name. You know, Jamie Vardy had his party in the 2015-16 season when Leicester went on to win the league. He was brilliant throughout, and since then he's always shown that he can score goals. Claude Puel didn't fancy him for whatever reason, but Brendan Rodgers has come back in at Leicester, and he's banging them in all over again. You don't want him running at you. You don't want him getting on the ball. You don't want him taking a penalty. You don't want him doing anything against you, really, because of how good he is. So far this season, 17 games, 16 goals in the league. That's an incredible record. The year Leicester won the league, he got 24 in 36. He didn't score in any other cup competitions, but he bagged those goals to help Leicester get the league title. So there you have it. My team in a decade: Ederson, Walker, Kompany, Terry, Evra, De Bruyne, Kante, David Silva, Aguero, Vardy, Sterling. Thank you for listening. Chat to you soon, soccer ballers. Nice one.